So how's it going, motherfuckers? So I wanted to make another video and a little response about something that's really troubling a lot of Star Wars fans, and that's Luke Skywalker's character. So one of my loyal viewers on here, Starcrafty, you talked about Luke Skywalker's character, and you said that, the movie is fucking terrible, and it's not like the other films you mentioned. Luke's character sucked. That offended a lot of people to turn him into such a shitty person. Yeah, the whole saga is his fault. He tried to kill Ben Solo. That angle made less sense than Poe's senseless story arc about a code breaker. Sorry, man, and to suggest um, because it made an impact makes this a good movie. And okay, so you go on about that, and like I said, you're entitled to your opinion. I disagree with that. We agree on politics, but obviously not really so much when it comes to this movie in particular. And that's fine. Like I said, I can understand that people might not like this style of storytelling. They don't like this movie. Like I said, I have no problem with that. Like the only thing that I had a problem with is you didn't call me this, of course, but people calling others morons because they like or dislike a film. I'm saying that I think people are being, you seem like you have some general gripes with this movie. That it's, you're not just being irrational about it, but you just don't like this style of storytelling. It sounds like you kind of wanted a bit more of a nostalgic Luke Skywalker. You wanted the more innocent Skywalker. And, this is kind of like it reminds me of Batman versus Superman again, where Batman got a lot of shit for being a bit too rough and gruff. Then the thing is, then you think back to the Frank Miller Batman that was really rough and gruff. And I liked that it was a Batman that didn't abide by a kill code, where he would not kill anybody. And I always, thought that that was a bit of bullshit, like with Batman. Oh, because his parents died, why kill somebody? You're not really proving a point when some of these, these villains are vicious killers. So that's why I've always appreciated somebody like the Punisher to come along and put an end to all that bullshit about kill codes and shit. So it's like the same thing. They did not like that Batman was too vicious, and people are having a problem with Luke being too resistant to Rey, and I guess you could say that's sexist, right? So for all the people calling this an SJW movie, so you see how Luke mistreats Rey, was that sexism? Does that make this an anti SJW movie? I'm not really too sure about that one. But, I'm just throwing that out there in jest, guys. I mean, really. That's what I'm saying, how ridiculous it is. But anyway, StarCrafty, let me get to your point about Luke Skywalker. And that does play, into it, what I'm saying about the Batman that's featured in Batman versus Superman, the one portrayed by Ben Affleck. Um, you see, it's like people just don't like that interpretation of Batman. They don't like this interpretation of Luke Skywalker. And the thing is, this movie takes place decades after, Return of the Jedi. So, Luke was a bit more gruff from Return of the Jedi, but he still had, a very pure sense about him. Now he's been living alone on the island. He's a hermit. So you could kind of see why that he might be in a grumpy, anti-human sort of state of mind. He's been living alone on the island. Yeah, there's the caretakers there if you want to count them, but they're not humans. I don't think he speaks their language. But Luke is frustrated. The whole thing where you talk about, him going to kill Ben Solo, but he said it was fleeting. That was the whole thing. He said he sensed such an overwhelming evil in him. It's the same thing when he makes Rey meditate on the rocks and to reach out to the Force. He can feel the dark side like entering Rey and trying to pull her in to that part of the island. And so, it scares Luke. And Luke being so strong in the Force and feeling these things, it was overwhelming. But like he said, it was a fleeting moment. It was a misunderstanding. Ben Solo wakes up to see Luke Skywalker staring down at him with a lightsaber ignited. But he started putting it down. So, you had two versions of the story. The one with Ben, they make Luke look sadistic, like, I'm gonna fucking kill this bastard. And then when Luke actually gets around to telling his version of the story to Rey, we see that it's not quite as menacing. There's not so much malice. It was a fleeting moment for Luke. He had the idea, what if I end the evil right now and kill him right there on the spot? And Rey gives him shit about it. She does. It's not like something where they're like, oh, okay, you wanted to kill the guy. All right. It's not like something that you just say in passing. They spend, a bit of time on that. But then we realize that Luke, in the end, this is where I'm not getting it. Luke, in the end, basically gives his life so the resistance can make a steadfast retreat. And so that's so it's like, Luke, it's kind of like Han Solo being resistant in A New Hope. He got his prize money. He's happy. He just wants to go home. And Luke says, well, that's what you're best at, caring about yourself. Then, we see Han then comes back in the Millennium Falcon in A New Hope and helps out Luke. And, it's a happy ending. He's joined up with the rebels, and, he sees that, friendship is more important than money. It's a beautiful story, and it's a beautiful sentiment. It's a beautiful message. And that's kind of what we got here at the end. Luke is grumpy. He decides to train Rey. He feels that it's right. And we see that Luke is conflicted. But he didn't go to the dark side. He didn't at all. He cuts himself out from the Force. He doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. He thinks that there's a lot of bad things that have come from the past involving Jedi. He starts to lose a little bit of faith because, of the thing with Ben Solo was tragic. He destroyed his temple. He probably killed all the other Jedi within the temple. So, I mean, and that's the reason really why Luke was like that in this movie. And the thing is, Hello Greedo did a video on it too. Why must Luke be exactly as he was in the first three films? Why does he have to be like he was in A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Luke was still being funny the way how he slaps Rey for like misunderstanding him about reaching out to the Force. She literally reaches out and feels the leaf that he's holding, the piece of grass, whatever the fuck it is. So it's not like you had Luke was being playful. Luke is also older. He's more mature. We also have to remember in those films he was very young. He was supposed to only be like in A New Hope. He's like 17, 18, years old. Return of the Jedi, maybe it's like, I don't know how much time has passed, but probably not much. He's 17 or 18 years old. Now we're looking at him and he's like 60 something years old. So forgive him if he's a little bit different, guys. I mean, time has passed and people's personalities change. People lose patience. They gain more patience over time. Sometimes they become a better person. Sometimes they become a worse person. But it's very, very rare that a person remains completely the same. That is the aspect of time. That is the aspect of aging. That's how it is. So there is an element, these are still human beings. Luke Skywalker is a Jedi, but he's not an alien, and he still ages. Jedi get old and they die and they pass away. Even Yoda passed away. I mean, it's just that's just how it is. That people age and they change, and so it would make sense. I mean, if you still and go, gosh golly, I'm going down to get some hover converters or whatever, still in this movie, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. That's why you have those movies. If you want to see that type of Luke Skywalker, if you want to see that type of Luke Skywalker character, you go and you watch the original trilogy. If you want to go see Luke Skywalker when he's older, more gruff, and he's seen too much, then you go watch The Last Jedi and you see a more gritty version of him. And I mean, are you telling me that you didn't laugh in the beginning of the film where he tossed the lightsaber over his shoulder? I mean, if he just came on the island and started training Rey right away, wouldn't that be a bit boring? Wouldn't that be a bit predictable? Wouldn't that feel a bit too samey? I mean, at least it was something fresh. It was something new. It was something different. We never got to see Luke Skywalker acting in this manner before. And the fact that we finally got to see it happen on the screen, it was something new, something fresh, especially when people said that Force Awakens was a bit too much. like A New Hope, that reminded them a bit too much of, then they said that the prequels were too different, and then they made Force Awakens feel a little bit like the original trilogy. They got shit for that, so they can't win. They can't win. They can't win with everything. That's like I said, you can't make everybody happy. But that is why Luke Skywalker's character was different in The Last Jedi. Maybe I'd change your perspective a little bit. Probably not. You probably still hate the movie, but that's my opinion on it. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it was a very good thing for this movie for them to change Luke Skywalker's character. But you see by the end of the film, he's really the same old Luke, which is why I don't really see the argument at all. But anyway, there you go, and until next time.